How would you like to own your own bank? Well, that's exactly what we get into today with Chris Naugle. Now, to be clear, I'm not talking about a physical bank location. We're talking about being your own banker through an infinite banking. Chris shares that traditional banks make 400 to 1300% more than you do. So, Chris is going to help us understand how we can take advantage of some of the same strategies your bank is utilizing. On top of that, Chris has launched a private money club and he shares how you can get access to capital to fund your deals. So if you want to learn how to be your own bank and get access to capital, check out this conversation right here on Multifamily Insights. You probably got interested in real estate for the cash flow, the tax advantages, the equity appreciation, and the long-term wealth creation, not for the 2 a.m. emergency maintenance calls. But let's face it, maintenance can be the biggest headache when it comes to building up your real estate portfolio. And that's why I want to tell you about a new property management software called Hemlane. See, Hemlane is more than your typical software. It's really like having a property management support system. First, Hemlane provides 24/7 repair coordination. They have a network of vetted maintenance technicians and professionals in your area to handle repair and maintenance your property may need. Second, Hemlane helps you advertise your listings and even connects you to licensed agents to help find and place tenants. And third, Hemlane is ranked #1 by Gartner with an average of 4.8 star reviews on repair coordination. Learn how Hemlane can help you manage your properties with 100% transparency and control without the administrative work. And as a Multifamily Insights listener, you will receive 25% off for 2 months when you sign up. Just go to hemlane.com, that's HEMLANE.com, and use Multifamily Podcast 25 as the promo code. Again, that's hemlane.com, or just click the link in the show notes. Chris Naugle is a former pro snowboarder turned multi-million-dollar entrepreneur and America's #1 money mentor. After nearly losing it all during the 2008 crash, Chris uncovered a 200-year-old wealth-building strategy used by the ultra-rich. And today he's helped thousands of people across the country do the same through the infinite banking concept and private money club. Let's welcome to the show, Chris Naugle.
Hey, John, thanks for having me back on, man. What an honor.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Listen, we had you on way back on episode 214, so quite some time ago. And certainly a lot has changed in the world since then. I'm curious, what have you been up to over the last few years?
Gosh, I've been up to a lot. I mean, just still doing the infinite banking concept, teaching people how to take back control of their money by being the bank. But, I've always been fascinated on just creation and I'm just that type of person. I'm a visionary. So I'm always thinking up what's next? How do I solve more people's problems? What can I do? And it kind of landed me back many years ago when I got rid of all my real estate. And I didn't get rid of all of it, but almost all of it. Right after COVID, I sold almost my entire portfolio and I had a bunch of money from doing that. I wanted to be the bank. I wanted to start lending because I had been borrowing so much up to that point. Now I wanted to flip and I wanted to lend. And I found that, trying to find good borrowers that had good deals was a lot of work, like a full-time job. So I was going out there trying to find all these resources to find deals, to find borrowers, and it landed me in RIAs, it landed me out speaking, taking me away from family. And I said, one day I'm sitting there, I was in Los Angeles, and I was at a bar with a napkin. And I was with a friend of mine, Steven. And I said, Steven, I got this idea. I said, I've been searching for this place that doesn't exist. And I think there's a huge opportunity because it solves a problem for two people. And that these two people that I'm going to solve a problem for are everybody. Because there are only two types of people in the world. I said, there's people that have money. Okay. And I know a lot of these people and they all have a problem. And that is they want to make more money. And then there's people who need money. People like I used to be, people like real estate investors, they need money to make more money. I said, but what there is not is a dating site that allows people with money to meet people that need money in real estate. I said, it doesn't exist. And I found all these places that I thought were the hit. I'm like, I found Connected Investors and I found all these other great sources. And I'm like, these are lead sources. These aren't direct end results where the lender and the borrower come together and actually communicate. So I drew it on a piece of paper. It was simple. It was circle, community, with two boxes, people with money, people that need money. And I referenced it as like a coin, like you flip a coin, heads and tails. You got people that have money, people that need money. And then the edge of the coin was the community and the education. So that's where it began. And that was almost 4 years ago. So I began the process of creating the first of its kind, a dating site for money, and that was Private Money Club. We're at over 9,000 members now, hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars of direct deals done with true private lenders. And man, when you ask what I've been doing since then, I've been doing a lot of IBC. We're up over, I mean, total company wide, we're over 8,000 total clients with IBC nationwide, but we've got over 9,000 members in Private Money Club. And that has been a huge lift for me to get that off the ground and get it where it is with the regulations, the SEC, and everything that goes along with it. So that's what I've been busy doing. Plus, I got a 5-year old. So I try to spend as much time as I can with her.
I love it, man. Great stuff. Love to hear what you've been up to. We're going to come back to that infinite banking concept, but that's what you're focused on. You're doing a lot into the commercial real estate space with multifamily, sold a lot of that, and then realized that, hey, there's two types of people. There's people with money, there are people who need money. And pairing those two together was an opportunity that was a void in the marketplace. You created the Private Money Club, have over 9,000 members now. And that's really been the focus for you over the last few years. Before we go right back into that, I do want to quickly kind of get our listeners up to speed. If you haven't checked out episode 214, we do go pretty far in detail about the infinite banking concept. But for those folks who are not familiar with it, at a high level, explain what it is.
It's so simple. It's a process. First off, a lot of people want to make it about the product, especially design whole life. The whole life just makes it more efficient, and I want to be clear about that. But it's a process. So let me give you an example. Everybody's taught to go out, make money, and deposit money into a bank. And then when we want to buy things like a car, a house, a rental, we go back to the bank and we borrow money. The bank pays us a certain interest rate on the money we leave there, which is very low. Let's call it 2%. And then when we borrow money from the bank charges us 6, 7, 8%. So they're making a spread from what they pay us to what they charge us. And the infinite banking concept, all it does is reverses that role. You become your own bank. You change one thing, folks. That is where your money goes first, not forever, first. It's instead of keeping it at a bank where the bank is in control and the bank is the one making money. And just by the statistics, they're making 400 to 1,300% more than you are on your money, your
You
hard earned
said
money.
400 to 1,300% more.
Yep, 400 to 1,300% more than you are. And you can figure that out. Go to bauerfinancial.com, look up any bank, any time frame, any period, and you will find that's exactly how much they're making for you. It's factual. So we just change where the money goes first. And then we basically do the same thing a bank does. Instead of borrowing money from a bank to buy a car, we go to our private banking system, which our private banking system is built using specially designed whole life insurance policy with dividend paying mutually owned life insurance companies. So we take the loan from our bank, which is our policy, essentially from the insurance company. We buy the car, buy the rental, pay off debt, do whatever. And then instead of making a car payment, a mortgage payment, or a debt payment to someone else's bank, we pay that back to ourselves, which is that policy. In doing so, you capture 100% control of your money because everything you used to pay to the bank is now paid to your bank. So you keep all that money. All the while, and this is the key, so pay close attention. Every single penny you've ever put into that specially designed whole life, your banking system, continued to earn uninterrupted compounding interest. It never stopped earning for you, even when you got to use the money. And you did get to use the money immediately within the first 30 years. Whatever you put in, you had access to it. The reason for that is insurance companies will allow you to use their money because they made a promise to you in a contract that they'd pay a death benefit when you die. Well, in that contract, they also said, and it doesn't say it exactly like this, but they said, while you're living, if you want to use part of your death benefit up to the amount of cash value you have, you can do that anytime you want. So you have free right to use your cash value, but you don't use your cash value. You use your death benefit. They loan you your death benefit up to the amount that you can collateralize. So the more money you have in your cash value, the more money you have to use from the insurance company. This creates a unique thing because now the insurance companies, which pay guaranteed interest on your money plus dividends, which right now every company we work with, which we work with a bunch, pay between 5.2 and 6.4%. Let me repeat that: 5.2 to 6.4% dividend crediting rate in a tax free environment protected from judgments and liens. And you get to use all of that without interrupting that interest or that dividend crediting rate you're earning. So you get to make a spread, man, and you get to make money twice on the same dollar. That's all it is.
Yeah, what a phenomenal one explanation, man. I've heard multiple people explain the concept. Your knowledge in the space is obviously very evident and clear, and you gave some great stats, man. You talked about the banks earning 400 to 1300% more than we do on our own money, and that's one of those things that you can pivot, you can reverse, and you can do that using these life insurance policies as a vehicle to help you maximize your returns. And I think it's something that people should at least learn about, whether or not it's
For
something you
sure.
apply, that's a personal situation, but understand, start educating yourself on the different ways to make your money work harder for yourself. And at the end of the day, real estate investing is just another tool in the tool belt, right? It's just something else that you're using to help you with your financial situation. And one of the things we want to make sure we do is we give you more plays in your playbook. So think about, investing in multifamily, understanding the tax implications of things like that. From there, it's understanding bonus depreciation. On the flip side of that, it's things like what you were just saying with, looking at your money, how do you make it work harder for you? Looking into infinite banking, looking into other concepts that allow you to minimize what you're paying in interest to somebody else as a borrower, but ultimately keep more of your own money in house. And that's what we're really trying to get at is how do you do that? How do you step into your own personal financial situation and take control and not allow others to dictate terms to you? How did you get started down this pathway, man? I know we talked about this a lot in the first conversation, but it's just so interesting as someone dives deep into this. Like, how did you get bitten to say, you know
Yeah.
what, this is something I'm just gonna spend my life learning about and operating on?
John, the story is so unique, and it's one I'll never forget. I was a financial advisor. So I was a pro snowboarder. You'd mentioned that. But then I became a financial advisor because I owned snowboard shops way back in the day when I was started at 16 years old with a clothing line, 17, my first store opened. And then I ran these shops while I was a pro snowboarder. Well, when I went through the first recession, which was the dot-com crash, my business crashed. I didn't want to lose it. I didn't have any money and I wasn't generating money. So I needed a job. So I put resumes out there, and the only people that would hire me was Wall Street. So I took a Wall Street job, being a financial advisor, got all my licenses, and I actually spent 16 years doing that while running my skateboard shops, while maintaining a snowboarding career. So again, I had freedom of time to be able to do all this. And here's where it all came, the rubber met the road. I was kind of at the end of my road with the financial advisor. I had seen a lot of things. The higher I climbed up the totem pole, and the deeper I got into it, the more things I saw that scared me, that I didn't like, and I don't usually openly talk about it for well, we won't even get into the reasons, but I just don't. I was out in Utah, and I was snowboarding out there, and I had this guy, Mike, who was a big real estate investor, multi-generational, who lent me a lot of the money on the real estate that I was buying, the flips and the multifamilies that I was buying at that time. And I called him up and I said, "Hey, I got a deal that I need to borrow some money. I was wondering if we can meet while I'm here in Utah." And he said, "Sure, meet me at Cheesecake Factory." So we sat down and we're just going through the deal. And I'm just like I've done many of times. I'm presenting the opportunity, the deal, and everything else. And I knew he was going to lend me the money because I'd been a good borrower. But I just said to him, I said, "So Mike, how do you lend all this money?" Thinking I had it all answered, Chris, right? As a financial advisor, most advisors, not all, but most think we know everything. We have a little bit of an ego because, that's just how we're trained. So he then, without flinching, says to me, he says, "Well, I lend from my own private bank." And I'm like, holy crap. I'm thinking to myself, just like you probably would, like, this dude's got a bank. And so I said to him, I physically said to him, I says, "Hey, Mike, after lunch, can you take me to the bank? I'd love to check it out." And he says, "No, I don't have a bank. I have a banking system. I do what a bank does." So I'm intrigued. And I'm like, "Go on." And he says, "Okay." So I changed where my money goes first. I don't put it at a bank. I keep it at large, giant, mutually owned insurance companies. He didn't tell me what the product was, but he says giant mutually owned insurance companies. And I'm like, "Oh, I know those companies. We work with those companies as an advisor." And he says, "Where I put my money, I earn a guaranteed interest rate." So remember, advisor mind's like, okay, what pays guaranteed interest rates? Then he says, "And I get dividends every year." So I'm like, stocks, dividend paying stocks. And then he says, "And all my money grows in a tax free environment." I'm like, Roth IRA, what could this be? So he's going through this, and I'm compartmentalizing everything he's saying, trying to figure out what is this thing that he's talking about, this private bank. And then he says, "But here's how it works, Chris. When you come to me with a deal like this, what I do is I do the due diligence, and then when I want to lend on it, I go to my private bank and I take a loan, and I give you that money from my bank. So I'm like, loan, why? And he's like, and then you pay me 15%, which is the rate I was paying him. I take the interest you pay me and I put it back in my private bank. But he said, here's the reason I do this. My money never left that account. My money continues to earn uninterrupted compounding interest. So if you needed 100 grand and I gave you 100 grand, I didn't give you 100 grand of my money. My money's still earning. I gave you money from that giant mutually owned insurance company. They loaned that money to me at a very low, simple interest rate. And then you pay me 15%. So I'm making a spread. But I'm not just making a spread from you on the 15 minus the five that I'm borrowing the money. Actually, back then it was four. I'm making that spread, but I'm still making the interest and dividends that insurance company is paying me. So, Chris, my private bank allows me to make money twice on the same dollar. Now, first thing I thought was, holy crap. I just found out about something that every one of my clients needs. That's the first thing I'm thinking. How do I go out and tell this to my clients? So I said to Mike, so Mike, how do I do this first? And what is it? And he said, well, first off, you know what it is. You're an advisor. It's a whole life insurance policy. The whole restaurant might as well have just stopped and everything went quiet. At least this is what my mind perceived, because I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Whole life's the worst place you can put your money, Mike. Like, you should just give me your money and I'll manage it. Like, that's how advisors normally think: buy term, invest the difference, and all that. And he says, "Wait, but it's not normal whole life." He said, it's specially designed and engineered for what I just explained to you, for private banking. And I was stunned. I'd been around whole life my entire professional career, but I never knew it could do anything he just said. So then he said, well, I said to him, I said, so teach me how to do this. And he says, well, I can't. I learned from this guy, Brent. So that's where the rest of the story goes. I called Brent and went out to Mexico, listened to him present, got my first policy started, and off I went. And now we have thousands and thousands of clients that we help nationwide.
Man, I love it, Chris. What a great story. And it's crazy how things just happen at times, right? I mean, for you, obviously, you're taking action, you're doing these deals, you're in Utah, you're like, hey, let's just sit down. I got a deal I want to do. And you probably went into that lunch thinking the best thing that was going to happen is you get this deal funded. And you got a
Yeah,
piece of information that blew your mind and really changed the trajectory of where you moved going forward. And now this is the thing that you spend a lot of your time focused on, man. Really appreciate that. And I appreciate too the awareness when even in sharing that story of like for our listeners, because that is the process many of us would go through, right? Is like, oh, what do you mean you have a bank? Like, oh, okay, this dude owns a bank, of course that makes sense. And he's like, no, it's a private bank. It's like, it's not a physical location, man. This is just money that I move around. I put my money here first, and it just starts to change the way we think about money. And I think that's so important, right? We have to be willing to grow. And you're listening to the show because you do want to grow, right? You want to grow your portfolio, you want to grow and scale your properties, but we also have to make sure we're focused on our mind. And part of this is being open minded to things that may feel, trendy or whatever word you want to use. I know some people like to either bash or discredit, the infinite banking concept and say, oh, it's not what you think it is or whatever. What do you say to people who are maybe criticizing or the critics of the space?
I deal with them every single day of my life. And I say one thing: you simply don't understand it, because every single thing we do with the infinite banking concept, take away everything that you know about it, take away everything you think about it. Mathematics, let's go back to that. Albert Einstein and mathematics. Mathematics is the one certain in our lives. Like, right, it is the one thing that you cannot argue that it is the truest form. So every single thing with the infinite banking concept, because literally I've challenged it. I'm that kind of person. I'm always the guy that's pushing back, saying, no, there's no way it does that. There's no way it works like that. But math is the single differentiator, it's the leveler. So, what we've done, and because I have a really amazing team of coders and developers and just stupid smart people, way smarter than I am, we have created software and mathematical tools that have literally changed the infinite banking concept forever, because we mathematically can prove without a shadow of doubt that it works, that it mathematically will solve problems like paying off debt faster, buying cars and getting all the money back for the cars you buy, driving on, or right up to multifamily. If you decided to start funding your real estate deals or funding your investments into real estate yourself instead of using a bank, we can show the mathematics. And we don't just show you the infinite banking mathematics, we show you, here's how you're doing it now. Here's if you changed this one thing. And here's if you added the infinite banking concept to your process. So we give you three options in our software that shows you how to do that. And that's what I say to people. I say, you might argue it. You might say I'm wrong. You might say that what I'm teaching isn't right. But you know what? The math proves you wrong. And until you can sit there and mathematically prove the math I'm showing you wrong, I'm always going to be the one that's going to come out on that conversation. So that's how we handle it. It's just, but it never used to be that way, man. I used to want to argue and debate and do this and do that. Now I'm just like, listen, how about I just show you the mathematics behind it? That's it.
Chris, for people who are thinking about it, one, what is the best way for them to educate themselves or take the next step to continue to learn? Because obviously, these are concepts like we are not, fiduciaries. Like, as you're listening to this, please don't run out and open a policy and say John Casmon told you that that's not how this works, right? But these are concepts you definitely want to learn more about. So, what would you recommend for someone to take the next step in educating themselves on this space?
Yeah, I always said the same thing that I did in the beginning is I was told to watch a video, a 90-minute video that showed me exactly how this process works. And then I got on a phone call with Brent, who was the guy that taught me, and he answered all my questions. So I would urge all of you to do the same thing. You can go to be your own bank or beyourownbanker.com. A 90-minute video will pop up. Watch that video. It's very entertaining because we have a heck of a YouTube channel at the Chris Naugle you can check out. It's got 1,300 videos all around this topic. But if you go there and you watch that 90-minute video, you'll want to book a call because once you book a call with us, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about what problem are we solving for you? And then we're going to go through and say, will the infinite banking concept work to solve your problem? And if it won't, we will dismiss it and say, hey, listen, this won't work for what you're trying to do, but here's another suggestion. So that
I
would be my
appreciate that. Yeah.
recommendation for anyone that wants to start.
There you go. Well, check that out and learn more about that concept there if you want to dive deeper into it. I want to switch gears though, because the thing you're doing more recently is something I know a lot of our listeners would be interested in, right? So when we talk about it, real estate investing really comes down to two things, right? It's pairing deals with capital. And it's always this yin and yang. It's a scale where whenever you can find a lot of deals, it's a little bit harder to find money. Whenever you can find more money, it's a little bit harder to find deals. So pairing the two together is always this balancing act that investors are always trying to do. You've created this platform. Talk to us more about some of the successes you've seen in the platform and more about kind of your goal in helping to drive results and success for those folks looking to invest.
Oh my god, the successes are so far and wide. I mean, thousands of people have gotten their deals funded and continue to get their deals funded with true private lenders. And the best thing about and listen, I know private lending is kind of it's a weird word now. It's different. It's changed. Institutions and hard money lenders are calling themselves private lenders. So we actually call ourselves the real private lenders because what we are is people like you and I, not institutions, because we don't allow institutions that are lending to one another. So there's borrowers and there's lenders. And the lenders are lending from their life insurance policies, like we talked about, self directed IRAs, cash, HELOCs, any source of money. That's what they're lending from. But the thing that's nice about the site is there's no middleman. There's no one getting in the middle of your deal. It's just you and the lender or you and the borrower. Like we don't get in the middle. It is completely free. So the free part is interesting because it wasn't supposed to be free in the beginning, John. So when I created this, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a SaaS. We're going to make a bunch of money. It's going to be membership. And well, what we found out is the regulators don't like that. So the only way through all the states to be able to offer private money club and this awesome resource and community to everybody was to make the site completely free, just like every other social media site you've ever been on. And it operates a lot like that. So you go on, you create a profile, put your photo, tell everybody in a bio what you're looking for. You go in, you start making friends, you start posting on the community and telling people who you are, what you're looking to do. Here's my deal. Post your deal in the deal section. So all that exists completely free. So like there's no barrier of entry for why anybody would not use Private Money Club to raise money. Now there are paid options, and the paid options just simply give you a lot more power to get your deal funded or get your dollars to work. Like notifications, additional resources for posting, speed of posting, additional resources to relist, and on and on and on. So there's paid and free membership options, but I always just tell people go on, test it out, do it for free, put your deal up there. And the best part is when your deal's up on there, right? people are going to reach out to you unless your deal just is terrible and makes no sense whatsoever. And that should be a learning lesson to you. But you just post your deal and then you go in, and what you could do, even as a free member, go into the members. There's over 9,000, and there's premier members, there's certified lenders, certified borrowers. Start with those because those are the people that know what they're doing, and just start sending your deal to them. Go in, look at them, ask them to friend you, and then just start talking to them. How can I solve their problem? Well, for a lender, it's easy. I got money to lend, you got a deal, and I want my money to go into a good deal. So solve the problem. So make it work. And all the tools and the resources in the site make it much more efficient to do it. Now, there's a lot more coming to PMC. So let me just give you a glance into the future. AI, as you all know, is quite the thing. So because we're a software development company and a fintech company, like AI is part of everything we do. On the IBC side, the infinite banking concepts, we've created software there. It is 100% driven by AI. PMC is now, we're starting to find ways, and it's tougher because we've got regulatory stuff to go through, but where AI can help you find the right source for money, the right lender. So that's all in the works. But also, we ran into a problem where, like, John, I'm sure you guys are, into a lot of syndicating, right? You're syndicating deals, and you're doing that. Well, we found out that we can't allow syndications on the site. We can't allow Reg A and Reg D funds on the site because they all fall under the SEC. So it was just direct to deal. So we were missing that whole part of the real estate world. And I felt like I wasn't serving them. So I started talking about it, and I come from Wall Street, so I kind of understood this. What if we create a registered investment advisory firm, PMC Wealth? Then what we can do is we can go to a syndication. A syndication can pay us to do a due diligence, which they should do anyway, where an attorney does a full look at the members and everything else. And once you get a clean bill of health, you can post your syndication on. And here's a cool part: the way we built the software is when you create a profile, we're going to ask you, are you accredited or non accredited? So we have that data. So when someone that's trying to raise money for a fund or a syndication comes on, we can say, hey, listen, right now, today, there are 4,000 accredited investors with roughly about $1.2 billion in investable assets on the site today. So if you put your deal on PMC, you have that pool to go after. And then you can advertise your site to those people, and just those people. You can put your site up there and kind of just manually go through and figure out who are the players you want to work with. There's ways to do it slow and ways to do it fast. And I'm sure you know this, but the faster you want to do it, the more money it's going to cost you. But that's the future of what that we're going to do there. And the RIA is that gateway. And then what we do with the RIA is we just, same thing we've always done. We manage cash, manage bank accounts, we manage treasuries, we manage CDs. We don't like managing equities and stocks, bonds, and mutual funds. That's not our sweet spot.
Great stuff, man. I mean, I like the fact that you're thinking about how to help other folks, especially our multifamily investors who are doing more syndications. And there are some ways to get in there. Uh, on the core of the business, when you talked about kind of pairing the capital with those lenders and the borrowers, is it just private lending, or are there like JV partnerships involved as well? So not necessarily
Oh yeah,
syndications,
there's
but more JV partnerships as well.
Great question. There's been a ton of JV stuff. And, we built a relationship with RAA, Residential Assisted Living, and they're all about partnering, right? So
Yeah.
that was kind of our first step into this whole partnership world. So there are tons of deals on there where you can come in just as a debtor, you can come in as an equity owner or equity investor, or you can just come in as a JV partner into the deal. So really, we don't care how you come in as long as you're not breaking rules, being fraudulent. The site is very like, all the members in the site are very protective to protect the site. So if you come in there and you're trying to be, hanky panky or fraudulent or just kind of going out and spamming people, they're gonna report you very quickly. They're gonna go onto your profile and put negative feedback. Think of it like Uber. It is self-policed, and it is very self-policed. So that's one good thing it's got going for us right now, where it's not hundreds of thousands of members. We're 9,000, so it's a nice tight group. And here's another thing, John. This is an interesting thing that I think is worthy of mentioning. By accident, I got it right. But we went in creating Private Money Club, and we came in with money, right? So we had the bulk of my clients. They had a problem, and they had a bunch of money in these policies, their private banking systems that they wanted to lend. So we basically started PMC really heavy with money. And even right to today, 4 years later, it's still very heavy on the money side. Where PMC, literally, where I've struggled with PMC is to get enough borrowers on there to have deal flow for all the money that's coming into the site. So that's where we've kind of been really pushing hard lately, is trying to get more borrowers to post their deals on the site. They're like, in the wintertime, there's about 100 or so deals on the site every day. We're down right now to about 40. So some of you listening to this right now, you should be thinking, "Oh, that sounds like a really big opportunity. There's not a lot of competition, and I've got a deal that needs money." So yeah, exactly. You should get your deals on there.
I love it. Hey, is there like an ideal deal size, or when you think of like a sweet spot for the kind of deals, what would that look like?
There's 2 sweet spots. So one area that we've seen being huge is deals under 100,000, like quick flips, 12 months or less in duration. Interest rates 12 to 15% right now is the sweet spot. So those deals, when they go on there, if they're first lien position, they're funded. They're gone immediately. Like just the other day, I saw a really good deal, and I got notified because you get notified when a deal meets your criteria. And I went in there this morning to look at it, and it's already funded, so it's already gone. But that's a really big sweet spot. But then the other sweet spot is there's some really big lenders that don't like playing around in that small stuff. They want the bigger deals. So like 250 to $1 million, that's been another area we've seen some activity. Some of the bigger deals above a million, what they have to do is break the deal out. Like I had this one guy, he's a dear friend of mine, but he bought land that he was going to develop into this really amazing complex in California. It's beautiful land. And he went on there and he raised just about $2 million. But how he did it, and he did it is, I think he did it in 50, or it was maybe $100,000 increments. And he basically raised that way. And he did it all the right way. He had a good attorney that showed him how to structure that. But he got that deal fully funded, got through all the soft costs on it, and now he's going vertical with it. So now he's able to go to a bank, refi it, which is in the process now. That's going to pay off all the initial investors. So that's a really good case study that we'll be talking about a lot.
I love it, Chris. Well, keep us posted as you expand, especially bringing on more options for the syndicators listening. I think that's a great resource. And listen, it's not often you hear people say, "Hey, we got a lot of people with money. We need more people with deals." So those are good problems to have. And obviously, our listeners, as real estate investors, here's an opportunity for you to get access to more capital to fund your deals. Chris, you gave a couple websites. So beyourownbanker.com, if you're going to learn more about the infinite banking platform, and then privatemoneyclub.com as well. And then you're pretty active on YouTube. So on your YouTube channel, that's at the Chris Naugle. And we'll make sure to put a link to that in our show notes. But right now, we're going to transition and go to our round of insights. When you think you found a great deal, asking the right questions could be the difference in finding a stud or a dud. Listen, we've put together a new guide to help you out. It's called 7 Questions You Must Ask Before Investing in Apartments. Now, in this guide, you're going to learn how to uncover red flags, quickly identify underwriting risk, vet sponsors and team members, and confirm key assumptions. Now, this is a guide that's going to help you be a better investor, whether you're an active investor or you're a passive investor looking to partner with other operators. Asking better questions is the key to identifying great opportunities. So download this free guide. Go to our website, casmoncapital.com/7questions. That's the number 7 questions. And you can access this free guide today. To make it easy on you, though, we've put a link in our show notes. So you go to the show notes, you can click that link and access the guide right now. This guide's going to help you make better investment choices, asking the right questions to build your portfolio. So be sure to download it today. Chris, give me a failure or an apparent failure that sets you up for later success.
A failure that set me up. Well, the biggest failure was when I went almost bankrupt. In 2014, I was buying apartment buildings at the perfect time, going all in. And what I did is I worked with one bank and I borrowed in my own name because it was cheaper to borrow in my name. I got up to 36 units. I took my 37th door to Greg, who was the guy who I got funded through this bank from, and he said no. And at that point, I found out that my debt to income ratio wasn't what I thought it was. They froze my lines of credit, which basically tied my hands. I couldn't finish the apartment buildings that were vacant and that I was renovating because that was the money I used. And lo and behold, I ended up having to sell every single one of those units. Just let that sink in, folks. I bought those units from 2009 to 2014, arguably the best time in our lifetime to buy real estate, and I couldn't hold them. So you asked, for a lesson. That was a lesson. What did I learn from that? I learned that banks aren't your friends. I also learned that you never want to borrow in your own personal name. You want to take commercial loans, even though, cost is more. Cost is only an issue in the absence of value. That one mistake has literally helped me get real with what I do, get educated on what I do, and allowed me to get to the levels. Without that mistake, I probably couldn't be where I'm at today.
I appreciate you sharing that, Chris. Great information for all of our listeners. Give us a digital or mobile resource or technology that you would recommend for our listeners.
God, there's so much technology we use. I mean, one of them that I used a lot, and this is real estate, was I used to use PropStream, but I probably used it a lot differently. We would use the search functionality in it, and we would use the texting functionality in PropStream back when we did it. Let me just give you a kind of unique idea. We would basically go in and we would find areas where we wanted to buy real estate. We would skip trace those areas, and then we would basically get names and we would start calling them. So this is nothing new in today's world. And listen, I'm kind of the old school guy, but that was a technology that we used a lot, and we used it really effectively. Matter of fact, one of my cats, my buddy, he got out, and I had almost lost him forever. And I used that skip tracing to literally find people's addresses that we then sent text to. This is back when you could send text to everybody, offering $1,000 reward for anybody that found it. And I got a phone call because of that and ended up finding my cat.
That's incredible. Most people are
So
definitely
not
not
only
using
does it work
PropStream
for finding
to
real
find their
estate, but
cats.
hey, you lose your pet, you can use it.
That's incredible. Great stuff, man. All right, give me a book you've recommended or gifted the most in the last year.
The End of the World is just the beginning. It's not for every one of you. It's a book on geopolitics, but it is a book that I've recommended more than any other book recently because of the events that are going on in our world today. And I think it's very important that people understand the geopolitical tensions that are happening in that book. The End of the World is just the beginning is probably one of my top recommended books. Or
What's a
From Barista to Billionaire is probably a very close second.
what's a daily habit that helps you stay focused on your goals?
Simple. Every morning when I wake up, I get down on my knees and I say thank you. I give gratitude to our creator.
You know, give me your number one insight for becoming your own banker.
Number one insight, believe you can. That's it.
I love it.
Change the
I
way
love
you
it.
think about money.
I love it. All right, let's lighten the mood. We're going to go in a different direction. Give us your favorite place to grab a bite to eat.
I don't rarely ever go out, but there's this place called Two Nines. It's like a golf dome. They make a really wicked salmon salad.
Two nines it is. And where's that? What city?
That's out here in Clarence, New York.
Clarence. All right, excellent. We'll have to put that on the list. Well, great stuff, Chris. Always good to catch up with you, man. A couple things jumped out, right? First of all, love you and the way you talk about the infinite banking concept and just helping our listeners understand more about this space. This is something where if you just understand how it works and the ability to leverage your own money, that can give you, better returns than what you're getting from banks. It just frees up some capital. So something you should at least look into and explore further. Beyond that, the opportunity you created with the Private Money Club, pairing people who have money to lend versus people who are real estate investors who have deals and opportunities, pairing those two together so you can go out there and do deals. And we look forward to watching you expand that platform, bringing more syndication opportunities to the table as well, and just really recognizing that, hey, at the end of the day, this is really about creating wealth. And part of that is, you know, minimizing your cost up front. Part of it is also just taking advantage of some of the opportunities that exist. And you have to be connected to do that. For folks that want to learn more, check out beyourownbanker.com, privatemoneyclub.com, as well as follow Chris on YouTube at the Chris Naugle. Chris, thanks again for being a great guest and coming on Multifamily Insights. We look forward to staying in touch with you, and I hope you have a great day.